The President's Foreign Plane, the $400 million Trojan Horse Black Box, Episode 3. Duration, approximately 15 minutes spoken. Word count, approximately 2,200. 00. Book. For the first time in 70 years of American history, the most powerful man in the world is about to fly on an airplane gifted to him by a foreign government. Not borrowed, not leased, gifted. And it's not just any plane. It's a $400 million Boeing 747-8, formerly owned by the royal family of Qatar. Trump called it a great deal. The Pentagon agreed to accept it. And the people whose job it is to keep the president alive in flight, they are losing their minds. Because to make this plane safe, they will have to literally tear it apart. This is the story of how Boeing's biggest failure handed a Middle Eastern monarchy the keys to the White House in the sky. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand why everyone, Republicans, Democrats, intelligence officers, and Boeing engineers themselves, agree on one thing. This should never have happened. 055, what happened? May 2025. Trump walks out of the Oval Office and confirms what reporters had been hearing for weeks. The state of Qatar is gifting the United States a Boeing 747-8, one of the most luxurious aircraft ever built. It will serve as Air Force One while Boeing finishes the official replacement. And after Trump's term ends, the plane transfers to his Presidential Library Foundation. His exact words? It would be stupid not to take it. The plane used to belong to Qatar's Royal Flight, 68 meters long, 460,000 pounds, 4 engines. The interior was designed to look like a flying palace. Gold leaf, hand-stitched leather, 2 bedrooms, a dining room that seats 18. This is not a hypothetical. The plane already exists. It's painted in Qatari livery. And it is sitting in a hangar right now, waiting for the United States Air Force to take possession. 2 o'clock. Why he's taking it. To understand why a sitting U.S. president would even consider this, you have to understand what's happening to the actual Air Force One. There are 2 of them, both Boeing 747-200Bs, both built in 1986, both delivered to the White House in 1990. That makes them 35 years old. Their avionics are from the Reagan era. Their engines, CF6-8, 0C2S, a model Boeing stopped putting in new airliners over a decade ago. The plane has been refit, of course, multiple times. But there's only so much you can do with 35-year-old metal. Trump knew this. So in 2018, during his first term, he personally renegotiated the contract for 2 new Air Force Ones. He bragged about it on Twitter. He said he saved taxpayers $1 billion by squeezing Boeing on price. The new planes were going to be 747-8s, the latest variant, the biggest, most modern jumbo Boeing ever built. They were going to be ready by 2024. It's 2026. They're not ready. They're not even close. Boeing has lost over $2.5 billion on that contract. The latest estimate puts delivery somewhere between 2027 and 2029. The fixed-price deal Trump negotiated turned into a financial sinkhole, and now Boeing is trapped, forced to keep building planes that lose them money on every screw. That's the situation Trump came back to in 2025. Air Force One falling apart, replacement years away. And then Qatar's prime minister calls and says, "We have a 747-8 just sitting here. Take it." You can imagine why he said yes. It says 430 CTA. Before I get into what's actually inside that plane and why intelligence agencies are sweating, let me say one thing. If you're still here, you already know this isn't the kind of aviation story you're going to get on CNN or in a 30-second TikTok. We dig deeper. We pull the documents. We follow the money. We find the stuff nobody really wants you to know. That kind of work takes time. And honestly, it takes resources. So if any of this is making you go, "Wait, what?" hit subscribe. It costs you nothing. It tells YouTube to push this kind of story to more people. And it lets me keep doing this. Every new subscriber is another story I can chase down, another archive I can dig through, another former engineer or intelligence officer who's willing to talk because they see that someone out there is actually listening. That's it. Back to the plane. 5:30, the security disaster. Air Force One is not a plane. I want you to understand that. When you see those 4 engines, the blue and white paint, the words United States of America across the fuselage, what you're looking at is not really an aircraft. It's a hardened command center that happens to fly. The current VC-25A has armor plating around the cockpit and the president's quarters Anti-missile countermeasures, flares, chaff, infrared jammers, hardening against the electromagnetic pulse of a nuclear detonation, so it can stay flying after a bomb goes off in the atmosphere. Mid-air refueling capability, meaning it can stay airborne for days. Secure communications that allow the president to launch nuclear weapons from his seat. The Qatari plane has none of this. It has gold faucets. It has a private cinema. It has handcrafted Persian rugs. To turn it into Air Force One, the United States Air Force has to gut it, strip the interior to bare metal, inspect every wire, every single wire, for foreign surveillance equipment, replace the avionics, install the anti-missile suite, re-engineer the fuel system for the refueling boom, add the EMP shielding, which means wrapping critical systems in conductive metal. Pentagon estimate? Between $1 and $1.5 billion, and approximately 2 years of work. 2 years, which means by the time this free plane is actually safe enough for the president to step onto, Boeing might have finished the real VC-25Bs anyway. 7:30, the bugs question. Now let's talk about the elephant in the cabin. Why would a country gift $400 million to another country? Qatar has been a U.S. ally since the early 90s. They host one of the largest American military bases in the Middle East, but they have also maintained close relationships with Iran, with Hamas, with the Muslim Brotherhood. Their state-sponsored news network, Al Jazeera, has been accused by the FBI of operating as a foreign influence apparatus on American soil. When a country with that history hands you the keys to your most sensitive aircraft, your counterintelligence service has exactly one job. Assume it's compromised. Every wire harness pulled out, every chip in every system replaced or x-rayed, every screw potentially holding a microphone, every panel potentially hiding a transmitter. The U.S. has been here before. In 2020, investigators found Chinese-manufactured surveillance hardware embedded in commercial security cameras across federal buildings. According to reporting from Reuters and the Wall Street Journal, the consensus inside the intelligence community is that this plane will need to be completely rebuilt at the wire and circuit level before any sitting president sets foot on it. The constitutional law professors are even more upset than the spies. 9 o'clock, the legal earthquake. Article 1, Section 9 of the United States Constitution. Read it for yourself. It's called the Foreign Emoluments Clause. It says, and I quote, "No person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, accept of any present, emolument, office, or title of any kind whatever, from any king, prince, or foreign state. A $400 million Boeing 747 from a foreign government qualifies." The Trump administration's position is that the plane is being given to the United States government, not to Trump personally. Here is the catch. After his presidency ends, the aircraft transfers to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation, which Trump controls, which is, by every reasonable definition, his. Republican Senator Rand Paul called it a really bad idea. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy called it the single largest foreign emolument in American history. When was the last time those two men agreed on anything? This is being challenged in federal court right now. As of early 2026, the case has not been resolved, but constitutional scholars on both sides agree. This is heading to the Supreme Court. 10:30. History context. This is not how Air Force One was supposed to work. Every president since Franklin Roosevelt has flown on an aircraft built by Americans, owned by Americans, operated by Americans. Roosevelt flew on a converted C-54 nicknamed the Sacred Cow. Truman had a Douglas DC-6 called Independence. Eisenhower introduced the first jet, a Boeing 707. Kennedy upgraded to the legendary SAM 26000, the same aircraft that flew his body home from Dallas. Every one of them American-built, every one of them American-owned. The current 747-200Bs were ordered by Reagan and delivered to George H.W. Bush. They have flown over 100 presidential missions a year for 35 years. They have outlived the airline industry that originally bought their type. They have outlived their own engine production line. They were supposed to be replaced 6 years ago. Instead, the President of the United States is about to fly on an airplane that, less than a year ago, was carrying members of the Qatari royal family to dinner parties in Doha. 12 o'clock, the Boeing angle. Which brings us to the part of this story that absolutely no one in Washington wants to talk about loudly. Boeing Failed. The most iconic American aerospace company The maker of the 707, the 747, the original Air Force One, could not deliver two updated jumbo jets to its own government on time, on budget, or to specification. The same Boeing that delivered Apollo command modules. The same Boeing whose name was painted on the fuselage of every Air Force One since 1948. The reason isn't politics. It's not Trump. It's not even the contract terms, though those are bad. The reason is that Boeing as a company has been hollowed out. Two whistleblowers dead in 2024 under suspicious circumstances. The 737 MAX disaster. The door plug that blew out of an Alaska Airlines flight at 16,000 feet. The Starliner spacecraft that stranded astronauts on the International Space Station for 9 months. Boeing's failure to deliver Air Force One on time is not an isolated incident. It's a symptom, and the United States is now so dependent on a foreign monarchy to fly its commander-in-chief that the alternative, waiting for an American company to actually do its job, is no longer politically tolerable. 1345, what happens next? So here's where we are. The Qatari 747 is currently at a defense contractor facility, likely L3 Harris, possibly Northrop, being torn down to its skeleton. Engineers pulling out every component, examining every solder joint, searching every cubic inch for anything that should not be there. The hardening, the missile defense, the secure communications, all being installed from scratch. The estimated completion date is 2027. If everything goes well, and given the track record of every government program over the last decade, that's a very big if. The president will start flying on it sometime during the second half of his term. After he leaves office, it transfers to the Trump Library, where it will sit on display, surrounded by velvet ropes and informational placards, while documentary filmmakers argue for the next 50 years about whether the deal was visionary or treasonous, or simply the only option a tired empire had left. 1500, closing. The plane will fly. Do not misunderstand me. The Pentagon will get it ready. The retrofits will get done. The president will board it, and the engines will spool up, and it will lift off into the sky like every American presidential aircraft has done since Roosevelt. But the next time you see Air Force One on the news, the next time you see those words painted on the side, United States of America, remember where the plane came from. Remember that Boeing could not build it. Remember that Qatar gave it to us. And remember that there are men in dark rooms all over Washington tonight, going over the wiring diagrams one more time, hoping they didn't miss anything. Because if they did, the consequences will not show up on the news. They will show up later. Next video, we are going inside the Boeing whistleblower deaths. 3 people, all scheduled to testify, all dead within 16 months. The official story does not add up, and we have the documents. I will see you there.